Hello everyone, I'm Andrea, aka Mrs. C, and today I'm going to teach you all how to draw and paint crystals using watercolor and also adding detail with Sharpie. Two artists inspired this project that I taught to my fourth graders. These two artists are Lizeth Prieto and Rina Aluwalia. Lizeth Prieto is a Peruvian artist best known for her crystal images. I really love how realistic these crystals are, and it's a great opportunity to bring attention to monochromatic colors for my students. For those of you who don't know, monochromatic colors are colors that have the same original color, but they are either lighter or darker than they originally were. Now, the second artist, Rina Aluwalia, is a Canadian artist who not only is a jewelry designer, but she is also a painter. She actually designed a tiara worn by Princess Kate. For this project, you're going to need a pencil, a ruler, a piece of paper, a Sharpie, watercolor paint, a cup of water, and a brush when it comes to making the actual image of the crystals. But then for the background, you're going to need a sheet of black construction paper. If you don't have construction paper, black cardstock or any other color of your choosing will be great. A toothbrush, a little cup of water, and white tempera paint. You may also want a teeny tiny little paintbrush so that you can paint white stars in the background. So let's collect these items, find a nice comfortable place to work, and let's get started. The first thing you want to do is draw the shape of your first stone. You don't have to make a heart-shaped stone like I did, but here's what I did. I used a pencil and drew two hook-shaped lines that kind of look like two upside-down J's to create the heart that I want. I wanted to make this heart stone a little bigger, so I repeated this step, but once more a little bigger. Now, what you're going to do is make a bunch of dots that are in the exact same place on either side, going all along the hearts that you made. This is because we don't want the stones to look very round for this project. You want them to look geometric, like they have a bunch of angles and straight lines. And then you're going to take your ruler and connect all of those dots that you created. Repeat this step with the outer heart, just as you did with the inside heart. Make all those dots, try to make them symmetrical, so whatever dot you have on one side, you also have on the other. And then let's connect those dots. Now, what I want you to do is draw a bunch of straight lines using your ruler, connecting these dots to make all the different edges and smooth spots on your stone. Next, we're going to make a little dot right in the middle of our heart, and we're going to connect that dot in the middle to every single dot around the inside of the heart. After that, you want to take your ruler and just make some random straight lines that connect one of the lines you just made to the other. This will give it a cracked appearance. That'll make it look like there's so many different sections or surfaces inside the stone that we can't really touch. Now what I'm going to do for my next crystal is draw dots to make what looks like an upside down V. Then once again, use your ruler to connect those dots. Now I'm going to draw two more dots that are a little below the two dots that make the bottom of my upside down V, and then connect them to that dot at the very top. Now connect these four dots at the bottom. This is going to make the top of our crystal. Now you want to take these four dots and use the ruler to make them disappear behind the heart-shaped crystal that we made earlier. For my next crystal, I'm going to create four dots that would create a trapezoid. I'm going to draw two dots that are pretty well spaced apart, but then above those dots, I'm going to draw two more dots that are a bit closer. This stone that I'm going to make is an octagon. It's got 8 sides, but the two sides towards the left and right, they're going to be very, very long. Now I'm going to connect those dots using my ruler. also connect those dots. It's going to go behind my heartstone, but that's absolutely fine. A lot of the crystals that we make are going to be overlapping with each other. Now I'm going to repeat those dots I just made, but make them a little farther from the other dots that I made earlier, but they should be the same distance, all of these dots. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect those dots. So now I've got the very outside of this stone that I made. Now use your ruler to connect the dots for both octagons that we just made. They'll start to make those angles, those fine edges for this crystal. All right, that looks pretty good. Once you finish your first 3 crystals, I encourage you to make all of your other crystals as different as possible. This will make them all look very unique. Now it's time to get out our watercolors. Remember, the longer you swish your wet paintbrush in the color you want, the darker that color is going to look. I'm not going to paint my entire crystal. What I'm going to do is paint the very leftmost side of various sections of my crystal, making sure that I have the darkest shade possible. I'm even going to bring some of that color a little farther in each section, but there's some areas that I'm not going to completely paint. Once again, I'm going to keep my color on the very left. I'm going to take a little break from picking up more red paint. I'm just going to dip my brush in the water, and what I'm going to do is very gently rub some of that red paint and kind of water it down towards the right. But before I get to the very right of each section, I painted stop, leaving some of it white. This will employ the use of monochromatic colors because we're not only showing the color that we first used, which is red for me, but we're also going to show the in-between shades of red, which is pink and some lighter pinks, along with that white area. Continue to paint this way with all of your crystals. However, you don't have to use the same colors with all of your crystals. They don't all have to be red. They don't all have to be the same 2 colors. Just go in between all the colors that you choose. Something else I want to point out to you all is that once you're done using watercolor on one crystal, you can move on to your next crystal, but don't paint the crystal that's right next to the one that you just did because it's going to still be wet. And if you use wet watercolor next to one area that's still wet, the colors are going to bleed into each other. If that's what you want, that's okay, but give the crystal that you painted last time to dry before you start painting the crystals next to them. Now it's time for us to create our starry backgrounds. Here's the tempera paint, here's the toothbrush. You're just going to get a little bit of white paint on the very end of your toothbrush. Then you're going to take your finger and run it from the front to the back to make that starry background. Remember, you want your toothbrush always pointed down at your paper. If it's pointed in any other direction, you'll be either spraying paint on your neighbor or on some furniture, and we do not want that. Just keep going until you have the number of stars that you want. Now that I'm finished, I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm going to create some stars that are shining a little more brightly than the other ones that look like very small white dots in the sky. What I'm going to do is get a little bit of white tempera paint and using just the very tip of my brush, being careful not to smush it on my paper, I'm going to make what looks like a little cross. I'm going to create one vertical line that goes up and down. Then I'm going to create a diagonal line right there that's slanted. Then I'm going to create another diagonal line like this, making those crisscross. Now I'm going to create another star you don't want it in the same place. I want to spread them out a bit more. Once again, using that vertical line. Now I'm going to use that horizontal line and also add a split diagonal line. You can keep making stars, not all the same size and not all in the same place, and scatter them to create the illusion of a starry sky. Now, once your background has finished, you are going to take your crystals, you are going to cut them out, you're going to put plenty of glue on the back, and then you're going to glue it down. Now I want to create more value in my picture using my Sharpie. The first method I'm going to do is stippling. Right now I'm just outlining the very left side of my crystal with bold black lines. But then what I am going to do is use black dots, piling them on to make it look like it has a really dark shadow. That's stippling, where you use dots to create a picture and also create shadows. This includes the core shadows where it's darkest, or the midtones where it's kind of the middle gray area between the core shadow and the highlights. And then wherever I want it to look lighter and like there's going to be a little bit more light, I want to space out those dots. Wherever I want it darkest, I really pile on those dots. And then I space them out so it looks like it's getting a little lighter and lighter in that section. It's absolutely fine if you outline the area where you want the core shadows to be with a black bold line, but then you're going to graduate to the stippling with the piled on dark lines that gradually space out the lighter the area is going to be. The second method that I'm going to use is hatching. It's like stippling, but you're going to be using a bunch of straight lines instead of using the dots. Once again, I'm going to outline those sections that I'm going to start hatching in, and then I'm going to start creating some horizontal lines that go left and right. Now with hatching, you don't always use lines that go left and right. Some of the lines, they'll be diagonal or slanted, or they will be vertical or up and down. It's entirely up to you. But what the idea is of hatching is that Great job, everyone. If you're new to my channel, please click subscribe below so you can get notifications whenever I post a new video on Art with Andrea. If you want to say what you enjoyed about this video or have a suggestion for what I should do next, leave a comment below. And above all else, stay creative, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.